Welcome to TV with Professor Ravi Chaturvedi, an eminent writer, an eminent columnist, an eminent cricket commentator for over 58 years, and above all, a very humble professor of zoology who is fondly called as Pandit Ji. Sir, welcome to TV.
Thank you, Mr. Ramraj. When as a human being, you should take interest in the areas around you, not confine yourself to one thing. And that's what I have done in my life. That whatever area I thought where I can play a role, I have always been there. Whether it was cricket, whether it was other sports, whether it was social work, or even I work in my village in Kanpur, Dalip Nagar. So I thought, as a man of cricket, maybe I can meet officers, politicians, and can help the poor man in my villages. So the society has to be taken care of if you get to a place where you can, and that's what I am trying to do in my own humble way.
Yeah, so it's our privilege to have you with us, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So this is the year of World Cup, and a lot of activity. The IPL is over. We are shifting to the World Cup, and from 20 to 50, but still the shorter versions of the game. But if we go back a year back in 2018, the Indian women cricketers, they did a wonderful job of going up to the final, playing very well in the league stages, beating strong teams like Australia and New Zealand. And though they beat England in the league, but again they lost to them in the final, it was a very close margin of victory. But how many people remember that compared to the exploits of even 2011 or even 1983 World Cup of Kapil Dev? So this kind of a disparity in a country like India where cricket is considered as a religion. So how do you get over, how do you focus and sort of promote women's cricket and other sports, sir?
Mr. Ramraj, I will use a social word which is very prevalent in the media these days, the gender bias, which is globally projected these days, and it does not exist in the developing part of the world, it exists in the developed part of the world as well. Now, coming back to the basics of your question. Yeah, when the women's cricket started, it was only between the two great cricketing nations, that is England and Australia. And then there was always an appendage to the Australian and West Indies, Australian and the English cricketers was the South Africa. In men's cricket it happened. And it's much later, imagine 1877, you are playing the first test match. And then South Africa coming after a few years. It remained a very isolated cricket, cozy, comfortable club. But in 1926, the barrier was broken when the West Indies and New Zealand became the members of ICC. 2 years later, India became the member of ICC, and then the doors opened. Anyway, women's cricket remained dormant because, as I said, the word that I've used, the gender bias. It was not only in cricket, in media also, there was a discrimination. And therefore, the recognition which the women's cricket needed was not given to them by the cricket establishment. In fact, as I narrated the other day, there were, always an undercurrent of, making fun of the women's cricket. As I said, there was a festival match where Brian Johnston, the great commentator, and Len Hutton, the great England captain, who broke a record of Don Bradman's 334 by scoring 364. He was there. He was a very solid opening batsman of England and then also a captain. So when Brian Johnston asked Len Hutton, what do you think of women's cricket? If you analyze the answer given by Len Hutton, which was very spontaneous, he said, well, it's like pushing a water bottle in the mouth of a baby. I mean, that is the way the society looked. It's not the Indian society, look, the English society looking at the women's cricket. They abhorred it. Then the ladies were not allowed in the Lord's Pavilion, not in the long room, not in the pavilion. There used to be a separate enclosure for them. And why I remember about it, it's in the 1932 tour, in second innings, when India were trying to stave off the defeat, Amar Singh hit a six, which landed in a ladies' tent. So you imagine, even the stands, they were segregated, they were not allowed in the main part of the pavilion. So things changed overnight. It was same in the commentary box. I mean, the ladies could not venture into a commentary box. They were very good journalists. Mary Pollard was one of the earlier England journalists and a very good player. And she, if you look into what she did, she very openly said that we were not welcomed into the commentary box, even when they did get into it. So this is how the whole thing happened. But coming back to the basic question of yours, the ICC is trying to make cricket a global sport. There are two issues to which I will come back a little later, but let me finish with the women's cricket. The women's cricket was not able to get enough social support. Since they were not getting the social support, therefore, the monetary support was also lacking. And after all, the game runs with the support of the money. And therefore, they were striving hard. Somehow they managed to hold some World Cups and all on a limited scale. The only problem was there were not many teams competing. But today, there are all the major teams who are playing Test cricket. Their women's cricket is also there, part of the World Cup. Now, as I say or think of the coming World Cup, men's World Cup, which is going to be played in England, I call it a Mahakumbh of cricket. It is like our Allahabad Kumbh Mela, so this is also a cricket Mela, Mahakumbh Mela in England. So, over the years, India has produced some good women cricketers. Look at Santa Rangaswamy, Diana Adalji. Diana not only was a good cricketer, she knew what to talk. Last time when she was captain, an Indian team went to England and they were not allowed in the long room. She gave them a 4-letter word very freely. So that was giving vent to the feelings that we are also part of the main cricket establishment. How is it I can't go into long room or in that side of the pavilion which is prohibited for the ladies? So it was good on the part of Diana, a dynamic cricketer. Then Shanta Rangaswamy. Imagine, her performance is as good as any other player of her time. And then Mithali Raj, now Sridhani Mardana, and there's other lady, Harmanpreet Kaur. They are all, and even there are some girls who are waiting in the wings, and those who are playing. Maybe because of the personality and the performance of these three girls who are on top, their performance has not so much been noticed, but they are also playing a very good supportive role, both as a bowlers and batsmen, down the order. Therefore, the cricket in India is a very good signal. And I would take it to a bigger canvas. If you look at the sports scenario of India today, the girls are doing better than the men. Look at the badminton. It's all these two girls, Saina and Sidhu. They are covered. I mean, they are international players. They have won so many international tournaments. Not many men have won. Let us forget about Prakash Padukone or let's forget Gopi or these people. But what they have done, they did it only once. But here they are doing repeatedly. Getting medals in games, getting a silver medal in Olympics is not an easy thing. It's a great thing, achievement for India. So it is not only in cricket, in other sports also. It's a very welcome sign in the Indian social value, in the social scenario of India, that the girls and the ladies are coming up. So that's a good thing. Now, coming back to the administration, which is the important part of your question. Previously, the women's cricket establishment was different, and their resources were very meager. They were not able to get so much of support of either the media or the sponsors. But with the amalgamation of the two bodies, the cricketing organizations at the international level, you don't have a Women's International Cricket Council now. It is ICC, International Cricket Council, which takes care of women's cricket also. And therefore, the monetary help which it receives has given impetus, given encouragement for the growth of cricket in other parts of the world also. And the net result was that the India qualified for the final. And as you very rightly said, at the league stages, they bet everyone. Unfortunately, maybe at the last hurdle, that is where you need to put in your best, we could not put. And that's why we lost very narrowly to England. But nevertheless, there's no doubt that the women's cricket also, like the men's cricket, has come to stay in Indian cricket. And Indian girls or women will have a lot to tell to the rest of the cricketing community that we are also a force to reckon with. So this is a very changing scenario, which is a very welcome scenario, which is happening in cricket at the international level as far as India is concerned.
So you rightly mentioned about social issues and causes, and also, but when this question of ICC took over women's cricket, like India also, it was a separate organization and with
Everywhere.
women
It was.
struggling. But when India, many of the state associations or even the BCI, CCI were little reluctant to take over women's cricket. Like I personally had an interaction with one of the officers of a cricket association, and his immediate question is what would be the benefit for us. So in that condition, why is that kind of a resistance? Why should they, when they promoted men's cricket, they could have taken along women's cricket. And also if you see, after the World Cup victory, they hardly played any matches. So that difference, the gap is still there. So how do we overcome these kinds of biases and they give the women also more exposure?
You have touched a very important point, which got lost in my whole answer. Yes, in fact, I will not blame any cricket board. I'll blame ICC. And let's not blame anybody. Let's look at the totality of the picture. ICC has a very crowded men's cricket calendar. Look, it is not the cricket which is going on in one part of the world. If one series is going on in Australia, another in New Zealand, maybe another in West Indies and so on. Imagine in hot summer of India, in this part of the world, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, even month of May, June, you are playing cricket, which was not there earlier.
Yes.
Therefore, what is at the same time, maybe ICC is paying more attention to the men's cricket because that is the cow where they can milch. It's a geese which lays golden egg. Unfortunately, they feel that the revenue or the returns of the women's cricket will not be that high, and therefore they are not paying that much of attention. Women's cricket calendar, I'm not trying to plead that they should be as crowded as it is of men's, but certainly there should be more exchanges of the teams playing each other, England playing India, or Australia playing Pakistan, Sri Lanka, West Indies, South Africa, so on and so forth. Your question is very valid in the sense that the cricket calendar, as far as the women's cricket is concerned, is not that extensive, is very limited, in fact, when it comes to international cricket.
So when we look at other sports, especially tennis, where women's tennis has almost got similar, equal, they do have separate women's tennis association and ATP, but when it comes to the Grand Prix, the major tournaments, all of them play together. So where women get almost equal opportunities, equal prize money, and similarly in badminton, the women also play well, they have their own tournaments. So similar to that, why not in cricket also bring a kind of a equality and a parallel kind of a structure?
Well, you have a point. I mean, if you agree at the spirit of tennis and badminton, yes, I'll agree that cricket should follow the same pattern. Because any Grand Prix or any other international tournament, ATP tournament, you'll find men and women all participating there. But the only basic question remains, the pay parity is still not there. That is still there, distinction is still there. The other part is, maybe it is easier for tennis to organize it. After all, if you are organizing in Wimbledon, they have all the facilities. They have 16 courts plus the center court and so on and so forth. Cricket, it may not be possible. Because look, organizing men's World Cup practically takes care of all the available cricket venues that are existing in a country, and after all, you need a first class standardized cricket facilities to conduct a mega cricket event. And when you tag it on to the women's cricket also along with the men's cricket, may not be, administratively it will not be possible. Yes, I agree to this thing. As it happens with Olympics, once the proper Olympics are over, the next they organize Paralympics. That could be a solution, because then there's those facilities which have been, because a lot of facilities are created at the time of staging the World Cup. So you have all the facilities, all that you have to do is you have all the arrangements, the hotels, the lodging, boarding, then the match facilities, the practice facilities, they are all readily available. So it can follow the pattern which is used by the International Olympic Committee. That is, proper Olympics, then Paralympics, like that.
So it's this talking about this parallelly holding it. Is it possible that like what happens is when you say Olympics and Paralympics, when you see the media coverage again, there is a downslide when it comes to Paralympics. So my question is, parallelly, can we have it on alternate days?
There also there could be a problem. You see, look here, let's not look at the things. The type of umpires you maybe need for them for women's cricket are different. Then you say both formats are men and women's. There's something very special about them. Their requirement, their conditions and things like that. It will create a lot of problems for the administrators. I mean, they are already a lot of under pressure to when they hold a mega event like World Cup. So they will be under, because there will be nothing special that they will have to do something special for women's cricket, which unfortunately they will not be able to do. Then secondly, what happens is, I'll give you the example, why the 2011, the Cricket World Cup which was organized in West Indies 2007, did not go very well. There were 21 venues of cricket spread over the various islands. There were some of them very small islands. Forget about Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica and Barbados. St. Lucia has been doing a lot of World Cups now because their last president was West Indies Cricket Board was from St. Lucia. They have recently come up with a lot of international standard things. Even there was lack of hotel facilities. And imagine staging a mega World Cup event like a Mahakumbh of cricket. You need a lot of other infrastructure, accessory structures, which may not be available. And when you have two same mega events, men and women's, it will be very taxing for the administrators and for the cricket administrators and the administrators of that country also.
So instead, can we have this kind of just thinking aloud, have a format where you have a shorter version before, say a 15-day event, like men's World Cup started as 15 days and now it's prolonged for various reasons. So similarly, have a shorter women's World Cup and then go on to the men's World Cup?
I'll tell you another thing which I overlooked. You know, there's a very undercurrent going on in West Indies. They want to have separate World Cup teams for major islands, not every island, but some major islands like Trinidad, Guyana, Barbados, Jamaica. And if tomorrow they start it, it will become a big challenge for the ICC to take care of such a big mega event with so many teams competing in it. Now, what purpose will it serve? Let me tell you, maybe your question has a lot of sanctity in the total all picture, but practicality looking at it, there may be a question against the establishment that look, there is a gender bias. They are doing a smaller version for men, for women, and men they are having a smaller version. You know, our social values are such that people are very quick to point an accusing finger at you. And that will be, as I said earlier, it's too taxing for them because you change the thing, then it's not easy to control. The management is a very important issue these days, and lot of thought process goes when you organize a mega event like this. And I mean, look at this in a part of the country, in this subcontinent where the work culture is very different from the rest of the world, and we are staging the sports mega events. It's not only cricket. Now you are holding leagues for badminton, for wrestling, for kabaddi, and so on and so forth. And even women's cricket, you are now organizing some international events. So they are being organized, but it will be taxing for the administrators.
So now coming back to the basics of women's cricket, like men's cricket in India, as we see, grew in some kind of a structured manner, but women's cricket still lags behind. So in your experience with your traveling and coverage, how does Indian women's cricket structure compare with the women's structure in the other parts of cricketing playing countries?
Look, the basic question as far as the Indian subcontinent is concerned, where India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka are concerned, or Afghanistan now, is our social setup. Forget the metropolitan cities. If you look at the social get-up which exists in the smaller townships and the rural areas, which I am sure you are quite aware of, the society has yet to come in terms with to get away from their old cliche of gender bias. Today, even some of our girls who have come up, say from Haryana, if you talk to them, they will say that when they decided to go for kabaddi or they decided to go for boxing or wrestling, there was the family did not support them, the village did not support them, the society did not support them. But here was a young lady, young girl, who had a commitment that I can make a mark as far as the sport is concerned. She got into it. And when the family thought that she was making headway, it became a district champion, national champion, and then international. So then the support came to her. So this is the biggest hindrance, the social bias which still exists by and large in our society will still make it not very conducive environment for a girl or for a lady to come up in any sport, forget about cricket. Though everybody knows today that the cricket is the most lucrative sport that exists on the Indian social media, social panorama today.
So now coming back to this globalization aspect, so ICC wants to make it a global sport. So you have this now this difference in men's and women. Is there some way which they can club these two to make sure that they grow all over the world and become a global sport? Whatever format, it can be the T20, which is the most popular format, like some countries in Europe or even the US who don't want to have long hours of any sport or game. So how do we go about? How can that challenge be met?
No, I'll come back to your question. Look, most of the associate countries of ICC, they are mostly playing to T20. The facilities are not there. Sometimes there are certain areas, countries where they have been able to create ground facilities. I'm particularly talking of the turf wicket. So some of the associate countries have been able to prepare turf wickets like Malaysia, Singapore, Oman, and some other countries. The basic question most of these countries are facing is to have a turf wicket, which is very much required for international cricket. You know, some of the small countries, they are still not playing. Maldives is not playing on turf wicket as yet. They have very few grounds. They are, after all, they are scattered islands and so on and so forth. Therefore, it becomes very different. There is a bigger issue when you talk of the globalization of sport. Look, cricket can become a global sport once cricket enters into a bigger fold, and the bigger fraternity and fold is Olympics. There isn't a bigger mega sports event than Olympics. Imagine the best of the athletes of the world, men and women, they all come together on a platform to compete for the best that they have. Cricket cannot become a global sport as long as cricket cannot enter into the Olympic fraternity. That will make it a global sport. Now, there are 2 points here. ICC did approach IOC to make them a member. The first attempt was made when the London Olympics were there, because IOC thought that the cricket establishment is there, the facilities are there, so it could be conducted along with the rest of the Olympic Games. But undercurrent was something different. Let's not forget that ICC, International Cricket Council, is a very rich body today. Their coffers are full. They are overflowing, in fact. And in case they become the member of IOC, this coffer, which is overflowing, they will have to part with it to give it to IOC. That is number one. Number two is a human factor. You do not want to become subservient to somebody else. Today you are masters, so whatever you are doing. Tomorrow when you become a member of IOC, International Olympic Committee, ICC becomes subservient to the diktats of the IOC. Will they like to surrender before the IOC? That's another issue of pride, prejudice, and so on and so forth. So these are the big hindrances. Plus point of this. some countries all over the world, particularly in Europe, they do not support a sport which is not an Olympic discipline. And imagine some of the associate and other countries which are member of the ICC. These days, you have the Asian Cricket Council, the European Cricket Council, all these cricket councils which are supported by ICC. But latest time, I understand, when I was last time in Singapore, that this support is now decreasing. Now, they don't have government support, they don't have sponsor support, they don't have media support even in these countries. So, therefore, they are in a fix what to do. But once cricket becomes an Olympic discipline, then the government supports gives you a grant. So, there will be a bigger gain on the ground for the cricketing bodies of different countries which are associate members of ICC once they become a member of the Olympic fraternity. That is a big gain. But when the points and the problems which I have pointed out, they are the biggest issue between IOC and ICC, which is not allowing cricket to become a global sport.
Thank you very much, sir, for your views on women's cricket and globalization of cricket.